Good morning. This is Monday, April 13th, and we are continuing our devotional in Acts. This is chapter 22, and it's a continuation of 21, where Paul has been accosted by the Jewish leaders, and now the Roman centurions have come in to actually arrest him and put him in prison. But prior to his going in, he requested that he be allowed to address the Jewish crowd. And as he's speaking to them, he is establishing what he had come to the temple originally to do, and that is to prove his faithfulness of his Jewish heritage.
To do that, he decided to give his personal testimony. This begins in Acts 22, verse 3. And the first thing he says is that he talks about his former zeal for Judaism. He was a persecutor of Christians. It takes 3 verses to establish this. And then,
in the next 6 verses, he describes his encounter with the risen Lord on the Damascus road.
His commission comes in verses 12 through 16, 5 verses. He meets with Ananias at that point. Ananias is a very respected man in the Jewish community, and Ananias tells Paul what he will be doing for the gospel.
This next section is his vision in the temple. These are verses 17 through 21. This is where he is told by the Lord that he will be going to the Gentiles to teach the Gentile nations about the Lord. This is a great example for us of how to structure our testimony.
Let's take this one step at a time. A brief explanation of our lives prior to our encounter with God. This only takes up 16% of his testimony. Verses 3 through 5.
I am a Jew, born in Tarsus of Cilicia, but brought up in this city, educated at the feet of Gamaliel, according to the strict manner of the law of our fathers, being zealous for God, as all of you are this day. I persecuted this way to the death, binding and delivering to prison both men and women, as the high priest and the whole council of elders can bear me witness. From them I received letters to the brothers, and I journeyed toward Damascus to take those also who were there and bring them in bonds to Jerusalem to be punished.
He goes on, and the greatest part of his testimony, taking up 30% of his time, is how God reached out to him to draw him to himself. He shares this in the next 6 verses, starting at verse 6.
As I was on my way and drew near to Damascus, about noon, a great light from heaven suddenly shone around me. And I fell to the ground and heard a voice saying to me, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? And I answered, Who are you, Lord? And he said to me, I am Jesus of Nazareth, whom you are persecuting. Now those who were with me saw the light, but did not understand the voice of the one who was speaking to me. And I said, What shall I do, Lord? And the Lord said to me, Rise and go into Damascus, and there you will be told all that is appointed for you to do. And since I could not see because of the brightness of that light, I was led by the hand by those who were with me, and came into Damascus.
The third part of Paul's testimony, again setting a good pattern for us, is how others encouraged him to growth in the Lord. This takes up 5 verses of his testimony, or 26% of it, starting with verse 12 and going through 16.
And one Ananias, a devout man according to the law, well spoken of by all the Jews who lived there, came to me, and standing by me said to me, Brother Saul, receive your sight. And at that very hour I received my sight and saw him. And he said, the God of our fathers appointed you to know his will, to see the righteous one, and to hear a voice from his mouth. For you will be a witness for him to everyone of what you have seen and heard. And now, why do you wait? Rise and be baptized and wash away your sins, calling on his name.
Finally, a testimony involves how God directed his path and how he would serve him. And this comes up again as another 26% or 5 verses, starting with verse 17 and ending with verse 21.
When I had returned to Jerusalem and was praying in the temple, I fell into a trance and saw him saying to me, make haste and get out of Jerusalem quickly, because they will not accept your testimony about me. And I said, Lord, they themselves know that in one synagogue after another I imprisoned and beat those who believed in you. And when the blood of Stephen, your witness, was being shed, I myself was standing by and approving and watching over the garments of those who killed him. And he said to me, go, for I will send you far away to the Gentiles.
So we see by Paul's example, the emphasis is on God and how he worked, not in how bad we were prior to the salvation.
This Easter season, we find ourselves in what probably is the most unique situation of our lives. We have time to talk through or write down our testimony. We can read Paul's testimony aloud in about 3 minutes. This week, while we have time and hopefully some quiet, we can write and even practice our testimony. We used to be able to share our faith story, the newer term for testimony, in about 5 minutes. This week, we'll try to get it down to 3 minutes.
We encourage you to do the same thing.